Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Fadeaway Podcast. I'm Ben, one of your hosts, and joining me as he does every week, the Sun's truther, Hisham. Welcome back, bud.
Oh man, I'd say it's good to be here, but it's really not because I know you're just gonna make fun of me this whole podcast. But yeah, man, I think I guess we're just gonna have to dive into the basketball. It's a bit of a crazy
One game
one.
away from Bucks
One
and
game
six.
away, right? I feel like we just keep doubting like throughout every series, it's like Giannis can't shoot. Like Middleton's inconsistent. Like, oh, they don't know their identity. Like Brooke Lopez, why is he playing so much? And then all of a sudden we're here and they're a game away from the championship. And you can say whatever you want about injuries and whatever you want. But like at the end of the day, I mean, Giannis was also kind of injured. Like they had to go through their
Yeah.
own adversity to get here. It's I just feel like they figured the Suns out. Like as much as it pains me to say that. First of all, my prediction is gone. The Suns are not winning in six anymore, and that's hard enough to
That'd be a
swallow.
tough
But
one to do. That'd be
yeah,
two games in one. Be a little tough, yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, they just look. I mean, when they play in sync, the Bucks like they did in Game Five, with all three of their quote unquote big three actually showing up, it was just like they just looked so good. Like every possession, like towards the end of the game. I know they kind of like gave up a little bit of a lead, and then it was probably tighter than it should have been in the last minute or so of Game Five. But Giannis and Middleton hit a couple of mid rangers. Holiday with the defense, a big three. Like it's just they seem to have found something here the last few games, and they've won three in a row. Surely it shouldn't be hard to win a game six at home with that crowd. I mean, uh, I would have them as favorites now to finish this off at home.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you still know like the Suns can still. I don't want to count them out completely because it's still a good team. Um, and I think if they're able to pull out Game Six, then I think that they beat. Like I think this is the Bucks' chance to close it out. If they lose the momentum here, I think it'd be much more difficult to go into Game Seven on the road and then win from there. But yeah, I
Agreed.
think the Bucks definitely have figured something out. Like the whole Drew Holiday, Chris Paul thing. Like Chris Paul still had a good game, but he didn't
Yeah.
have the crazy like 30 plus point game that he kind of needs to have for the Suns to win. I mean, like their big three really, like Aiton, Booker, and Paul all played well. Like they scored, they were
Yeah.
efficient. It,
That's the scary part.
across the board, this was like one of the best shooting nights just in general for the finals. Like this is the only night, the only finals game where a jump shot went up, and I didn't automatically think it was going to be a miss. Like Brooke was making threes, Pat Connaughton was draining threes, Jay Crowder was hitting threes, like
Yep.
Bridges, like everyone was hitting shots, and you'd think that that's the type of game the Suns win, right? The run and
Right.
gun,
Right.
high scoring team against
Yeah.
like a more kind of slower pace Bucks team, but they still weren't able to win.
Yeah.
And even after a massive first quarter lead, like they were up by like 15 at one point, and that just got whittled down to like a few points by the second quarter, and then lost it around in the third. Like that was the Bucks. That was the Suns game to win. That was their steal on the road that I think they needed to get. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this is like the first game we've seen this playoffs really, especially this finals where Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis were all playing really well. And what was funny is it didn't take Giannis actually scoring. Like in the
Right.
first quarter, first half, he was doing his best like LeBron impression because you saw him in the crowd, like driving and then doing these no look passes to the corner to get wide open shots for his teammates, like
Yeah.
proving that he can do more than just kind of score. And that's what you really need to be a star in this league when you think about it. Like how many one-dimensional players are there that like really reach like big like heights and accolades and stuff. Like not a lot. Like Harden, you could say is like a great scorer, but he also was a great creator and
Right. Right.
pretty much runs the offense and able to like make baskets for his teammates. And that's where I think, I don't want to say it, but we got kind of like empty stats Booker this game. Like this is where the whole criticism came from, right?
Oh,
He dropped 40 points
40.
on like 45% shooting. He was efficient, he was scoring, but mid-range jumpers and not making anything for your team and not playing great defense is only going to get you so far. Like you'd think like in a vacuum, if you tell someone like Booker scored 40 points in the finals and DeAndre Ayton scored 20, like you think that they'd win that game. But there's just so many possessions of him just isoing. And you had like Bridges who was hot. Like threes are more important than twos. Like there's a
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
why teams have moved away from the mid-range game. Like it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time to get those shots off. And even then they're not, I mean, half efficient. Like
Yeah.
Bridges hitting like every three and you're getting one less point per possession for that.
Yeah, I
So
mean, what's crazy is like the Suns shot 19 threes and the Bucks shot 28, right? And the Bucks went 50% from three. So obviously that's gonna, be an advantage to the Bucks. But well, like you said, like I think what's crazy is that if you told me these stats, Booker drops 40 on basically 50%, Paul has 20 and 10, Aiden has 20 and 10, like surely they're not losing that game. And Crowder and Bridges shoot efficiently. So that's where it's scary, right? Like you basically gave it your all and you still came up short. And the thing that really stood out to me was I remember like I was watching and in the first quarter, like you said, Booker sort of gets away for like a dunk. Giannis fouls him. He's kind of like, amping himself up. And the Suns go up like 13, 14, something like that in the first quarter. And the ESPN showed a stat like, oh, they've never lost this like in the playoffs after they've had a lead of more than like 12 or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, this is in the bag.
great
Crowder's
news.
hitting threes. Like this couldn't get any better. And then they closed it down literally in like 4 game time minutes. They changed that, and it was just like it was kind of crazy to see the Suns defense fall apart. But I think the difference is what you're talking about in terms of threes are more valuable than twos. And obviously it's a super controversial topic this year, especially with the Suns getting as far as they have, in the final. It's not that the Suns don't shoot threes, but they do shoot a lot of mid-range that a lot of teams don't, right? And in this game, what I noticed was when Middleton is on and he's shooting a relatively high percentage, he shot almost 50%, more than 50% from the field this game. But he is such a capable three-point shooter, but also a very capable mid-range shooter. So the first priority is the three, but if it's not available, he can get into the mid-range area and take his shot, right? Booker's main priority is the two. And then if like it's an open three, he'll take it. And I think that's sort of the difference, like where you see a few extra points here and there for the Bucks. The Bucks, obviously, Giannis still struggled from the line, kind of had that one good game from the line, then kind of went back to his old ways, 4 for 11. Not great there, but
Two
but
big
my
misses at the end.
yeah. But my biggest takeaway, sort of the last few games, has been the decrease in minutes for Tucker and Lopez. Both Bud has adjusted those quite well, and Pat Connaughton is playing huge minutes and hitting pretty big shots.
Shout out. He
Big
was
shots.
huge. He was huge in bringing them back that game. Like hitting threes, 4 for 6. Like
Yep.
playing good defense. As I said, like he is an
Right.
underrated defender. I mean, like you got Booker on it. Of course, he's not gonna shut him down, but like he making him work for it, right? Like not just a turnstile. And yeah, it just the depth that we kind of thought wasn't really there for the Bucks is kind of shown out. And shout out to Bud actually making good moves, like realizing that Bobby Portis is playing a big role in this finals, and
Yeah.
just the energy that he brings is huge. And like Pat Connaughton playing, I'd hate to see Jeff Teague hit the floor, but the fact that DiVincenzo's out, you kind of have to, I guess. because
Yeah.
he has no business really playing at all in these finals. But
Yeah. I,
they're
it's funny
they're
though. You
limiting
look.
his minutes to the
Yeah.
minimum of what they need. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think one other interesting thing about the depth is I don't know if you noticed, but even almost every game so far this finals, Giannis just looks gassed. Like it'll be like a
Yeah.
first quarter, and he looks so tired. Maybe that's why he's taking so long for his free throws. I
Right.
think this is huge, especially him knowing that this could be a shorter series than seven and close out because
Mm.
he's reminding me of like Jimmy Butler in the finals
Mm.
last year, like just looking
Yeah.
exhausted. And I think
Right.
this was a huge game because he looked really exhausted and he did not have to really do all that much offensively with Drew Holiday and Middleton. So I think that's going to help a lot, and I think we're going to see a much more aggressive Giannis next game. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, just he's showing that he can do a lot more than just kind of drive to the hoop and look for fouls and try to dunk. So it's just about being those kind of multifaceted kind of players, like Drew Holiday playing amazing defense again in the game-winning
Oh.
defensive play, but also hitting
Yeah.
threes, hitting shots,
Right.
driving to the hoop,
Right.
like just playing amazing like all-around game. And I think one of the most interesting thing is like the two biggest plays so far of this finals have been both defensive plays by the Bucks.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday's steal and Giannis's block. And
Yeah.
they always say defense wins championship, but I think it gets like misconstrued where you think like, oh, you score like 80 points and you just play defense. No. It's you still have to be a good offensive team and score, but like defense again is the most consistent thing. Like even those games where Drew Holiday was like 9 for 20 from the field or whatever, like not hitting a lot of shots, still playing amazing defense and still being able to like impact the game in that way, which is what a lot of the Suns players kind of lack. Like
Yeah.
Booker has a good game offensively, and even then, that's the only way he's able to impact the game. If he's not shooting well, he's not doing anything.
It's
And Chris
useless.
Paul
Yeah.
playing well offensively, turnstile on defense. Like they were just going
Yeah.
at him, looking for switches on Chris Paul the entire game. They have like Bridges, Aiton, and Crowder as like their only reliable defenders, and even then,
Yeah.
they're not game changers on the defensive end, which is tough.
Yeah. I think firstly I want to address the Jeff Teague point. Jeff Teague was a -11 in this game, the worst plus minus. He only played eight minutes, so you got that one right. But apart from that, no, you know what, and I was thinking about this, is that you with Middleton, Giannis, and Holiday as your three best players, there are people who can give it to you offensively and defensively on any given night, right? Like if the offense isn't there, they're still going to be pretty good
Yeah.
defensively, all three of them, especially with Giannis and Holiday being extremely, extremely talented defenders, right? So I think, yeah, it's just this is the Drew Holiday they signed up for, right? I mean, I don't think they needed him to have 27 and 13. He had a great game, plus 14, 12 for 20 from the field, but it's his impact. Like he just seems in command and control. The last couple of games, he's really picked it up. They figured something out. And I think the other thing is like what you said, like they can just, they're hunting switches on Booker or on Chris Paul to sort of go at them. You can't really do that with the Bucks. Who are you going to switch on to? If Lopez is out there, even Lopez is not a horrible defender
Yeah.
on an island, right? So then you've got Tucker, Giannis, Middleton, Connaughton, Portis. Like you can go down the line, right? And it's relatively decent defenders at least, or really good defenders. So either way, there are no real easy buckets. The thing that I noticed, like, there's just the games where Booker has gone off. There's not enough ball movement for me for the Suns.
None, just ISO
Yeah,
after ISO.
it's just ISO, and I know he gets his buckets, and it's great to watch him score. He's a great scorer. But I just feel like the way they were killing the Bucks was sort of fast-paced transition, Bridges and Crowder corner threes, Aiton dunks, like running dunks to the rim, right? Like to change that formula to like, okay, let's give it to Booker, or maybe run the clock down, let him find a shot, doesn't seem as valuable to me. And so I don't know how they're going to change that. You're right. I feel like in a way the pressure is kind of on the Bucks in this game 6 because if they don't finish it out, like how many, like I told you that stat about Phoenix having the lead in the first quarter, right? Like if they have that again in game 7, they're probably not going to blow it, like probably, right? So the Bucks should close it out in game 6, I think. Um, but I don't know, man. I know Chris Paul went 9 for 15, 21 and 11. Any other day, those are good numbers to me. Again, like only one turnover, but it just seems. I know he took over a bit in the fourth, but I need to see it all game.
Yeah.
I need to see it all game.
And I
I'm
think
not
that's the
seeing
Drew
it.
Holiday effect, right? Like, not
Yeah,
only is he making him just work to bring the ball across half court, but he's just getting hunted on defense. Like, that's kind
yeah.
of, if we remember back to like those Cavs Warriors finals, that's what they did with Steph Curry. Is you hunt the guy, you make him play hard defense.
Tire
It
him
makes it
out. Yeah,
harder to play offense if you're getting just having to play that physical for a whole game.
yeah,
And going back to kind of like the ISO possessions with Devin Booker is, I feel like it also is hard to be like Mikal Bridges or Jay Crowder when you're like shooting is pretty much like a rhythm game. Like you get in a zone, that's why they have hot hands and hot shooters. But if
yeah,
you're like Mikal Bridges, like I've missed one shot this whole game, and then for the next 4 possessions, you just stand in a corner and watch Devin Booker dribble for 20 seconds and then shoot a
yeah,
contested mid range. Sure, it may go in, but like you're getting out of rhythm there and you're just standing there watching. And that's the same thing that we saw with the Bucks and the like Atlanta and Brooklyn series, where like it's not
yeah,
conductive to good offense. And sure, you may get some points, but you need everybody contribute, especially in these finals games. Like it's a very Devin Booker hate stat, but I think it tells a story where he is the first player in NBA history to have 40 plus points in back-to-back finals games and lose both of them. Like
yeah. I mean,
it's
it's tough.
he's
It's
getting the
tough
points,
because
but it's not helping them win.
it's tough though because he didn't. If you look throughout this finals, right? Sorry, even throughout the playoffs, you don't really see many massive Devin Booker games. He wasn't like going 40 every game. Like
Yeah.
they were mostly playing team basketball to win. And now, and it's hard. Like I know we're being very critical here, obviously, um, but it's hard because you want to respect him because you look at the stats. He's a plus 12. He shot 17 for 33, 50% from three, 80% from the line. I mean, like, if you look at that, he didn't really do anything wrong. Um,
No.
so, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, we saw that he was getting hunted and he wasn't, there's
Yeah,
not enough
but
ball movement.
that's the
So
thing.
it's yeah,
If you want to be a superstar in this league, you have to make your teammates better. Right? Like we
yeah,
saw
yeah,
LeBron go through it. We saw
yeah.
Harden go through it. We saw like Curry go through it.
Westbrook even,
We've seen
yeah.
Westbrook. Well, maybe he hasn't gone through it yet, but we're still waiting on that one, maybe. But like, it's about like you have to score, and maybe it's not necessarily just getting assist numbers up, but it's like initiating ball movement. Like you realize that you're a threat to shoot, so when they double team you, don't just try to get a shot over people. Try to pass to the open guy, and like
But do you
it's
think that
frustrating because
part
he
of the
can.
reason you think that part of the reason is that he's not a primary ball handler? I mean, he's not a Steph Curry's a point guard by nature, right? Like
Yeah.
he passes the ball for a living. LeBron James, Giannis, they're kind of built that, or at least those guys have the vision. They're tall, they can see over defenders. Like Booker is just he's a pure scorer. He's like Kobe's protege, right? He's not like a passer. I mean, he hasn't had to go through the playoffs to learn that he needs to develop this skill, right?
Yeah, and I that comparison I see being drawn a lot, but like one thing is that everyone jokes about, like Kobe was still a good passer. Like he
Of
was
course.
a good, like the jokes about like not passing, but he was a good passer, and he did right. He has like 30 something all time on assists.
Mm.
And another important thing to note is he played in a time in his prime really where the mid-range shot was the main way to, like, three-pointers were not as big when
Yeah.
Kobe was playing as they are now. Like the amount of threes have just skyrocketed ever since then. And the two-point shot has been so much less efficient than it used to be. Like
Yeah.
you could get if this game was played maybe like this finals was 10, 20 years ago, then yeah, sure, maybe They win because you don't have Brook Lopez shooting threes because that just wouldn't be
Yeah.
a thing.
Right.
But nowadays, the mid-range shot we saw pretty much last game is why it's been slowly kind of phased out. So I think it's like about picking and choosing and knowing when to really just kind of go into that Kobe mode and just take twos and mid-range jumpers and score. But when the other team starts coming back with a bunch of threes, you got to kind of adjust your game plan and can't just do the same thing over and over again. That's the thing. It's about adjustments, and the Bucks are
Yeah.
making them. My favorite
Yeah.
adjustment they made was, sorry, you see the big lineup that they ran, the Middleton at the 1. I don't even know what he was at. You had Middleton, Tucker, Giannis, Portis, and Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm DeAndre and that's the tallest, like, just pure mass lineup you faced all playoffs, and that just it's like too physical of a team for them to deal with, and like they just couldn't handle it. I think the first time they actually ran that lineup this playoffs, and it's just about giving different looks. And I think that was the first game, maybe the second, where I think Bud actually like outcoached Monty Williams. Like, I never thought I'd say those words, but he thoroughly outcoached him. And I think one of the reasons they won that game was just through just better adjustments and better coaching.
No, definitely. I think they're definitely figuring something out, like in terms of the positions they should be getting into. Like, I'm definitely noticing Giannis bringing the ball up less. He does still have his moments where he's like, he wants to take charge and drive.
Only 1 3.
Yeah, only 1 3. And even when he's driving, sort of like, head of steam, like with the ball in his hand, he's still looking for the like Connaughton on the wing or Middleton on the wing. So it's opening up way more opportunities before where he was like 40 and 12 and like they're losing, right? But the one thing I have to say, I've been a massive DeAndre Ayton fan, especially over this playoffs. He's really, proven to me, and again, a good game from DeAndre Ayton, 20 and 10, solid play. I just have one criticism, and it's his hands. I don't know if he can be faster or like more. I don't know. He can just his grip can become better or just become used to like catching the ball at fast speeds, because I've seen throughout the whole playoffs, especially the finals, they're like, when they need a bucket and they're like sort of scrambling to get the ball and Ayton gets like a hard pass in the lane, he always slips it. He goes for like a tough rebound. He's always slipping it, and it goes to like the other team, and like they score off of it. And I feel like there are a lot of those little points where like he can get just those little things could make his stats like 25 and 15 from 20 and 10. And I mean, that's just something small that I noticed, but it really bothers me every game because I see it every single game. But yeah, Aiden again, good game. I don't know. I mean, where do you think from a Bucks point of view? First of all, because I mean, probably by the time we talk next, the winner will be decided either way, probably. So who do you have if you have to pick? I have Bucks winning the next game, winning the title. Is that what you have? And also, if they do this, whether it's in 6 or 7, what does this mean for Giannis and his legacy? Also for Middleton, who's someone who's received a lot of hate. Holiday, I think, is whatever. I don't think it'll maybe change him that much. But those two have taken a lot of criticism over the years. So
no, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you. I've got originally, I believe I had Bucks in 7, and I'm willing to kind of alter that to Bucks in 6. The old Brandon Jennings prophecy. I think they just got the momentum. I mean, obviously anything could happen, but I think going home and just playing stellar defense these past few games and really getting everyone kind of involved, I think is huge, and especially be bigger at home. So yeah, I think the Bucks will be able to take this home in the next game. And legacy wise, I mean, Giannis is having like his I don't want to say it too early, but like LeBron moments, like at what, like 20, I don't know, 26, like he's at way ahead of schedule, and we think it's like it's due time and whatever because this team's been so good for the past few years. But like he's still, if you think about it, like he shouldn't be expected to be doing this at 26. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is like your window, but his prime, like, arguably has not even started yet. Like,
Right.
he has
Right.
still so much room to grow and get better that I think he's shown that like he is on his way to possibly being like the best player in the league. Like
Yes.
when LeBron gets older and starts to retire, and you've got guys like Kawhi and KD kind of like aging out, and you've really got this like next generation of superstars. Like he's not quite with like the Trey Youngs and Luka
Yeah.
Doncic's who are still really young and still have a lot of room to grow. He's going to be like the most kind of well established guy, really, right? Like if he wins this finals and gets a final MVP, he's checked all the boxes. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy, and he's only really been like here, like at this level for a few years, realistically,
Yeah.
and it's kind of crazy because like he's still got so much to work on that I think he's like he proved that he's working on and can definitely work on. Like imagine if he's like an 80% free throw shooter. Imagine if he could
Oof.
shoot like even 35% from three. Like works on his conditioning. Like there's so many things, and he's proved that he's willing to work on these things. So I'm just happy for him. I think he's gotten so much hate. I don't know what it is. It just maybe like the European bias for some reason that we like
Yeah.
seeing American basketball players, right? I
Yep.
mean the last greatest European basketball player, right? Dirk. Like
Yeah.
he's getting comparisons that I don't think he's there quite yet, but I think he's definitely on his way. Like and even beyond the European just basketball players. And we were thinking about it, I was talking about power forwards, like the best power forwards in the game, right? Like who have we got so far? We've got like Malone, Duncan,
Duncan.
KG, like
Dirk.
like he could be like a top 10 power forward within the next year, like all time, and then work his way up to
Yeah.
like top 5, which is
Yeah.
incredible for how young he is. And winning a finals like this, especially gonna be huge, showing, especially knowing that he's pretty much won his team 2 of those games on his own, is going to be massive and kind of breaking away from like I remember in the beginning of the season, the whole Bucks identity they saw was like Giannis is their best player, but he is not their closer. Chris Middleton was always the closer of the team,
Yeah. Yeah.
and him being able to prove that he can make those big game-changing plays at the end of games is
Yeah.
kind of massive. And not saying he relies on someone else, but they have that kind of mutual relationship where they do it. And I don't know. I want to see one more good Chris Middleton game because
Yeah.
we've got Cash Middleton for 2 games in a row,
Yep.
Trash Middleton for a few before that,
Yep.
and the biggest not like when he's on, he's like the best
He's
shooter
great.
you've ever seen, and when he's off,
Yep.
he's useless. So
Yep.
it's just about finding that middle ground and being consistent and make your bad games still productive, right? Like,
Bearable. Yeah.
make
Yeah.
them productive because like that was the whole thing with Devin Booker, right? When his shot's not falling, he's not a productive player. And
Right.
Drew Holiday, when his shot's not falling, is still a productive defensive player. And what does Chris Middleton do if his shot's not falling? What is he able to do? He's not like the most athletic guy. He's not going to drive to the rim too much, but maybe be able to get open shots for other people. Like
Right.
work on the pick and roll with Giannis and get some easy assists. Like it's just about kind of being like a positive presence for your team, even when your shot's not falling. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He's been ridiculous these past 2 games, just making everything that little wrist flick shot is just falling every time. And if he continues like that, it's a lock for them to win. And even if he doesn't, I still give them a good chance too, because that's just the way this team's built.
Yeah.
Like there's that whole like kind of next man up. Like you see someone pick up the slack.
No, it's kind of crazy. I didn't really realize it until you said it, but like the whole Giannis has basically already done everything. If he wins this, like imagine he wins this, he's a champion, he's a Finals MVP, he's a 2-time MVP, he's a Defensive Player of the Year. Oh man, like he's
no
already
6 man of the year. Gotta
no
go to the bench
no
for a year.
All-Star game MVP, All-Star game MVP. Not yet, I don't think.
No. I don't know
But I mean, yeah. But he's basically done everything, which is kind of insane. So I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, the Suns are a great team, and I'm sure they'll put up a fight, if not win Game 6. But it's just crazy to think how far Giannis has come. And I was even thinking, like, throughout this playoffs, the amount I've seen him grow, like, for me, I'm the kind of guy who likes to see the sweet shooters. I like Jason Tatum's my favorite player. I like Chris Middleton a lot more than Giannis because he's got a sweet stroke when it's on,
Yeah.
those kind of players. And so I didn't really respect this guy can't shoot, like whatever, like he's not going to be good. And he's shown to me that you don't need to necessarily have the shot, but you also don't need to be dunking everything. Like there's so much
Yeah.
more to the game, and his passing and stuff has improved so much this past like even a couple of series,
Yeah.
to the point where like he's getting so many more people involved. Like his vision is way better. He's making like a conscious effort to like be like, okay, I don't need to get 45 every game, even though I can, but like I can just help other people get involved and they can hit the threes for me, and I can just
Mhm.
run and dunk, as James Harden says. So
Yeah.
um no, it's really good to see his growth. Honestly, like even as someone who's not a huge fan of his, I feel like he's gone through a lot of adversity, like too much hate, honestly, for someone who puts up crazy
Yeah.
stats and like his team wins like a great percentage of those games. Um, so it would be good to see him win it. Like I think he deserves it, and the team deserves it. They've been you know, at this level for a while, but
Yeah.
haven't been able to sort of surpass that sort of Eastern Conference Finals or Finals hump. Um, and for Chris Middleton, yeah, you're right. It's kind of a tough one, right? Because it's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 time All Star now, something like that.
Yeah. Around there.
Yeah, around that, and like he's just kind of like prime Kobe when he's on, and then
Yeah.
he's like, like a really bad high school player when he's off. And it's just like hard to tolerate. But I think you're right. Like the past 2, 3 games, I feel like he's figured out some stuff. Like they figured out some spacing. Like he's getting defenders behind him. He's getting to his mid range. Like he doesn't. I think maybe he was forcing up too many bad shots. Like I think
Yeah.
once he gets comfortable in his game, he's a great player. And I think for him, it's not necessarily like he doesn't need to be final. He's not going to be, but he doesn't need to be finals MVP to like prove to the haters. Like the fact that he's the second best player on it. I mean, maybe you could argue Holiday, but I still think it's Middleton. Um, Second best player on the championship winning team. I mean, what
Yeah.
else do you need, right? Like you've done it. Then you've won the title, and you've proved to everyone that like you can be the second best player, and you don't have to be the best player. That's his game, right? So that's probably who he's going to be. But yeah, it's scary to think that like I mean, even Middleton, there's so much improvement to his game that could be done. So to see like even if they win it and even if they don't, like the off season for these guys, like yeah, like you said, like I don't even need Giannis to shoot 35%. Giannis could shoot like 32% from three, and that would be more than enough. And he would be averaging like 40 and 15 every game. Like it would just be
Yeah.
insane. Um, but yeah, honestly, the Bucks have really grown on me. Bobby Portis is like just
He's just
everything that
that
I've ever
guy.
wanted. Yeah, it's just he's too good. Like just amps up the crowd. Like he just does his job. Like he's shooting corner threes now. Like he's just confidence all time high. Um, but yeah, I think it should be a good game 6. Hopefully the Suns come out. I mean, as a I know I'm supporting the Suns, but like we're somewhat neutral at the end of the day, and I think it would be nice to see a game 7 like of any NBA Finals would be great, right?
Yeah.
So, it would be nice to see that, but I think whoever wins, honestly, there's so many. We've seen so much good basketball. I just want to see two good, or at least one good game of team basketball, with a lot of sharing the ball and good ball movement and running up and down the court. I don't want to see some stagnant one-on-one Booker time. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the answer to getting them game 6. So yeah.
No. I think another thing kind of swept under the rug that was refreshing to see in this last game was so much less fouls. Like there weren't
Yeah.
whistles every other possession.
Yep.
And kind of goes into one of the things I really like about this Bucks team is that they don't complain at every whistle that I've seen. That is one of the things that has driven me crazy this finals. Seeing guys like Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, like just complain about every like I hate
Yeah.
how the NBA has gotten this way and seeing kind of the Olympic kind of like prelim games has kind of spoiled fans, right? To see like these refs are not they're not going to give you more whistles
Yeah.
because you're complaining. Like there's much more contact. I don't know if you saw like the USA team versus Nigeria, where my favorite was the Kevin Love pump fake, bumps into somebody, no foul, air ball, just embarrass yourself. Like
Yeah.
that's how it
Yeah.
should be. Like that is what basketball like. I swear Chris Paul has taught his entire team in practice that if
Yes.
someone is behind you in a fast break, just stop and then you'll get a foul called when they run into
Yes.
you. It is so beyond me how like NBA fouls are drawn up where it seems super simple where you could just make it whoever initiates the contact is the one who the foul's called on. I feel like it doesn't need to be much more complicated than that. But
Yeah.
the offensive players get so much kind of leeway now that one, they get fouls called all the time for any sort of contact. Like you try to go over a screen, foul.
Yeah.
Even if the guy doesn't shoot, he just throws his arms up in the air.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
then and then they get so used to that. Then when they don't call those fouls and like kind of moments where they want the game to be more physical and they don't want to call fouls every time, then they start complaining the whole time. The
Yeah.
most like the worst case I saw this was near the end of Game 5. I don't know if you remember when Devin Booker is going for a layup and just whiffs it.
Mm,
In the second he missed it, he starts complaining to the ref, and that's still a
yeah.
live ball. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Like, the ref didn't make you miss that layup, and
Yeah.
also you
Game
got
four.
fouled
Game
out
four.
3 times already. So what are you complaining
Yeah.
for? Like,
Yeah.
I think we kind of brushed over. We didn't talk too much about Game 4, but that was the worst ref game I've seen this entire maybe
Yeah.
playoffs, if not just for the finals. But going for an intentional foul when you have 5 fouls already is not smart. But then getting
Yeah.
bailed out and not getting the foul called on you is
I know.
if the
Insane.
Bucks lost that game, something would have burned to the ground. I don't know what it was, but I was just getting pissed for the Milwaukee fans at that point. Like that was just egregious, and the NBA has they've got to really reassess the way they're kind of officiating some of these games. Last game was probably one of the best examples of like a well officiated game.
Officiated. Yeah.
Like not too many fouls, allowing contact because contact isn't a foul. Like I think that's one of the
Yes.
big kind of like points of confusion for even some of the Mark Jackson, especially thinks, oh, he initiated contact. Contact is not a foul. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing. Is like you're allowed to
Right.
touch other players in the game of
Exactly.
basketball. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
about whether it's altering your shot or preventing you from shooting or preventing you from
Right.
moving. And it's about
Exactly.
establishing your space, right? If you're in the
Yeah.
space first, and that's your space, and you can't just run into people and expect the foul to be called on them. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that
No.
was a good one. There weren't too many people in like insane foul trouble except PJ Tucker, who always seems to be getting the
Yeah.
short end of this thing. Complains a
Yeah.
lot. Also gets some bad fouls. So it's a little bit of both, but he hasn't had a great game, but he's still bringing the energy. But
Yeah. I
it's
mean, he's
always
not. He's
funny to
not
see.
there to. PJ Tucker is a great. Like, I just love PJ Tucker. Like, he doesn't really do anything except for like bring energy and like defend. But I mean, he's basically useless on the offensive end. Like,
It's
he
like
just
what
sits in
Bruce
the corner.
Brown really should aspire to be. Like he should go to the PJ Tucker like class of how to play basketball and just play like him. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
Um.
fun game because
Yeah. No, I
it was
agree with you
flowing,
on
right? Like
the
there weren't too many
officiating
stoppages.
stuff.
But yeah, one more game possibly. And I think the Bucks are really locked in. They definitely seem. I hate like the notion of like a team wanting it more because like every
Mm.
player wants to
Of
win
course.
and no one wants like it's a weird thing to say. I just think that the Bucks are more composed, right? Like
Yes.
a lot of teams, I think that's if the Suns go down 15 in the first quarter, I think they have a less chance of coming back because it's just about that mentality of like knowing that you're good enough to kind of get there and not really counting yourself
Yeah.
out. Like I see some of the Bucks never really look out of it. You know what I mean? Like when they're playing, like they're like body language, they never look defeated. And when you got like Bobby Portis kind of hyping you up on the sides too, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you've got a lot of ways to get back in the game, and you have the best player on your team is a lot better
Yeah.
than the Suns. Sometimes when they start going down, like you just see them kind of like moping around, like they don't look
Yeah.
that engaged. And I
Right.
think that's just like another kind of like thing is like the Bucks have a lot more experience. Like Chris Paul has all the experience on that Suns team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jay Crowder.
Don't forget about Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder. Oh, yeah.
Playoff legend, Jay Crowder.
Yeah, not a finals legend though.
Not a finals. Yeah.
Just the Eastern
No,
Conference
you're right.
Finals legend.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. He's yeah. I mean, I think you're right. Saying they want it more is, I guess the body language is just a lot better from the Bucks. Let's see what they can do. I assume they're gonna. I wouldn't say run away, but I feel like they'll get a comfortable enough victory in Game 6. Like I'm gonna guess like more than 7 points win for the Bucks. I just see them bringing the energy. The crowd is gonna be mad. And
they've been waiting for this.
They've been waiting for this for a long time. So I'm sure Giannis is gonna, sort of save up all his energy for this one game and just go ham. The only thing I would say is I don't want him to drop 50. I want him to just play whatever and do whatever's best for the team, like he did in Game 5.
That's the thing. Yeah, sometimes he needs to score. Sometimes
and he still had 32, 9, and 6, so it's not like he didn't have good stats. But yeah,
definitely no. It'll be interesting. And next week, but by the time we talk, we'll have our winner. So it's been a great playoff so far. It's amazing, like all the kind of big stars getting knocked out early, and seeing that it's still a fun and interesting finals is good to see.
Yeah, no, it's been a really good run, honestly. Excited to talk to you about it next week. Hopefully we have some interesting game or games to discuss. And then just for the listeners, I guess after that, throughout the summer, Ben and I will be discussing, I guess, going through most of the teams in the NBA and what their off seasons are going to look like, and how they're going to shape up for next season and where we see them sort of ending up.
Yeah, got the draft too. It'll be fun.
Should be interesting. Yep.
A lot
Cade
of moves.
Cunningham sweepstakes.
Possible Damian Lillard on the move.
Ooh, yeah, a lot of rumors going around, huh?
Yeah. Well, hopefully something spicy happens next week, and then we'll be able to see that. So, looking forward to it.
Yep, sounds good. All right, man. Catch you next week.